Okay, got another news story for you here, and this one is this was more it's less funny and more thoughtful, I guess, thought-provoking. At least it has been with me. And I'd like to share you my ideas on this because I don't know what you think. But I think that there's a lot of things in here that are very telling of American media and American society right now that I think need to be fixed. So this is from The Hill. Ohio doctor fired by hospital after saying she would give Jews the wrong meds. A hospital in Cleveland reportedly fired a resident after it was discovered she had been sharing anti-Semitic comments on social media. Cleveland.com reported on Sunday that the Cleveland Clinic confirmed that Laura Collab is no longer working with the organization after having only worked as a supervised resident with the clinic from July to September last year. She is no longer working at Cleveland Clinic. In no way do these beliefs reflect those of our organization. We fully embrace diversity, including inclusion, and a culture of safety and respect across our entire health system. The organization also said in a statement on Sunday. According to the Times of Israel, Collab had a history of making anti-Semitic comments on social media for years, dating back to 2011. Collab had reportedly called for violence against Jews in several tweets in which she also referred to Jews as dogs and compared Israel to the Nazi regime. Collab could also be seen saying that she would purposely give the Yahud the wrong meds using the Arabic word for Jews. And a screenshot of a tweet made in 2012 shared by the publication. According to the Times of Israel, Collab's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn accounts have been deactivated. Okay, now, first, I'm going to start off and say, I am not here to defend this woman. That's gross. That's nasty. That's wrong. There is nothing about that that is defendable at all. I mean, even if I was looking for a reason, and I wouldn't in the first place, that's not just expressing racial ideas. That's not just expressing ideas about, Jews versus, Israel. That's or Arabs versus Israel. That's a threat. That was a threat of violence. When you're working as a doctor, or is she working as a doctor, or was she working as a nurse? Make sure I got this right. A doctor. So she was a doctor. That's saying that you're going to use your job to potentially injure or kill a certain, people from a certain group, from a certain belief system. And there's nothing right about that. But I do have a few comments on this. And they're not about what she said. I'm not going to defend what she said. But I think that it's interesting to look at this from a different perspective, because The Hill that's Western media. Let's look at the same story covered by something that is not Western media, okay? This is from RT. I'll give all the Jews wrong meds. Anti-Zionist tweets get Muslim doctor fired and haunt her later. In her messages, as cited by the Canary Mission, Collab repeatedly calls on followers to destroy the homes of the Jews and urges Arab nations to unite to destroy the terrorist Nazi state of Israel. In one of the most disturbing tweets from January 2nd, 2012, Collab, using the Elike alias, apparently jokes about intentionally giving her Jewish patients the wrong medication. Okay, which one of these things is not like the other? What's different about these two things? Western media, we don't mention that this person that was fired is Muslim, do we? Because, and in the Eastern media, we do. This is something that, you have to wonder, why did The Hill leave out that information? There's specific information here. Her calling on Arab nations to destroy Israel. And I'll tell you why, because right now in Western society, it is not fashionable to criticize Islam. It's not fashionable to criticize Muslims. Even though, when you think about it, it's really strange, because Nazis hated Jews. They hated Jews enough to kill them. Arabs, I'm not going to say Arabs, Islamists, Muslims. There are many Muslims out there that hate Jews. They don't like them at all for racial belief issues and whatsoever. However, when you go and you talk to the people, the oversensitive ones, the ones that are always telling people to police their speech and shit like that, right? Well, it's okay to hate the Jews. Oh, sorry, back up. It's okay to hate the Nazis because they hated Jews. But how dare you criticize Muslims if they hate the Jews? Isn't that interesting? Now, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just going to say right now, I don't have a dog in the fight at all. Whether it's Israel or Muslims, I don't care. I'm an atheist, so I'm just sitting back. Whenever two groups of people, two groups of religious wingnuts start going at each other, I sit back, I get the popcorn, okay? They're both the same crazy to me. So I'm not supporting or demonizing one or the other. I don't care. They're both nuts, if you ask me. But I find it weird, just from my observation, sitting back with my popcorn, it's very interesting how if a white Christian American says even the smallest criticism about a Jewish person or the Jewish people, they're a Nazi and we hate them. However, if a Middle Eastern Muslim says something against Jewish people, what? Crickets, nothing, nobody says anything. The same people don't say shit when that happens because it's not fashionable to criticize Muslims while it is fashionable to criticize Nazis. So that's, it seems like it's okay to hate Nazis for hating Jews, but it's not okay to hate Muslims for hating Jews, even though many of them do. In fact, if you look it up, the majority of anti-Semitic crimes, violent crimes in the Western world over the past few years, at least have been committed by, in general, people of the Muslim faith. And the show is called Reality Check. There's your reality check. So, in fact, there's been a lot more crimes committed over the past 10 years against Jews by Muslims than there have by Nazis in the past 10 years. So, there you have that. Now, that's one point. Now, the second point I have here is, aren't you glad that this woman was able to actually post this stuff? If the language police, if the morality brigade had their way from 2011, she wouldn't have been able to say this stuff. She'd have been blocked and she wouldn't have been able to have these accounts to say these things. Now, they may find that good, but let's think about that here. She was fired. This is a person who threatened online to give Jewish people the wrong medications, and the only reason that we know about that is because she was able to post about it online. If somebody had found the word Jew and just deleted all her accounts, we would have never known about this. She could still be working at the hospital she was working at. Now, I'm not a fan of taking some criticism that somebody's had against some people or some opinion, some unpopular opinion from years in the past and getting them fired and wrecking their lives and leaving them homeless. I'm not a big fan of that. But when somebody is actually threatening to use their job, what they do for a living, to harm people, that person doesn't need to have that job. And we wouldn't even know about it if the far left and the thought police had their way. We wouldn't even know about it. We wouldn't even know it was happening. She was allowed to post this, and now we know about it. She got fired for it, and now she's not a danger anymore. So I want people to think really carefully about this, because in the first place, if you don't think, if you're on the left and you want to police people's speech and you want to decide what they can say and what they cannot say, don't think for 1 minute that that is not going to come back later and bite you on the ass, because it will. There will be some time at some place where things shift and it's going to come back and the things you're saying is going to get you banned. It's going to happen. Don't think it won't. So every time you push for this kind of bullshit censorship, you're really only working to censor yourself later. And secondly, people like this need to be able to speak openly. They don't need to be shut down and shut off social media. If there is a person out there that plans to shoot up a school, that person should be allowed to go online and say, I'm going to go shoot up a school, because then we can go and get that fucker and stop him from doing it. If they're not allowed to talk online, how are we going to know? We would have never known. This person, whether or not they can actually speak on Facebook or Instagram or whatever the hell else she had, whether or not she was allowed to say these things, she still felt them. She's still going to feel them. And she still could take action on them. The only reason that we knew that she was going to was because she was able to post them because of free speech. It's important that we preserve that, not just to allow good people to speak, but to allow bad people to speak as well, because then we can find them. We can target them. We can point them out. We can say this person is a concern, and we can actually deal with it. If we shut them up and we throw them into obscurity and they're not allowed to say anything, then we just have a bunch of silent, smoking time bombs out there that are waiting to go off, and we won't be able to find them.